Hi, this is Sonia from An Enthusiastic Reader. Good morning. It's Friday, and so I'm going to do a Friday Reads, even though I didn't finish any books I want to talk about this week. So I thought I would take this opportunity to do a tag and to make a couple of recommendations for Black History Month novels that I've really liked that I don't see very many people talking about. I'm going to do something called What's Saving My Life and make a couple of recommendations that are not about books, but are about things I'm enjoying and would like to recommend to you. So let's get started with the book tag. Today I'm doing the 1001 Books tag by Sandy from Miss Reads a Lot, and I will link the original tag video down below and the questions in case you'd like to do the tag. I thought this was a good way to maybe reintroduce myself to some new viewers and to just answer a few book-related questions or questions about me and my life a little bit. First question, 1001 lists. Do you follow any book lists? It can be prize list or a challenge like the Rory Gilmore challenge. I actually don't follow lists anymore. I was very interested in the past with book awards, the National Book Awards, the Booker Prize, and I do still watch videos about that. I might read an article or two about it, but personally, I don't feel at all obligated to read all the books on a list anymore or to really put any emotional investment into the outcomes of lists or contests. So it's an interesting way to get maybe introduced to books I haven't heard about or see why other people like them, but no, I don't follow lists. 1001 books. Approximately how many books do you own and how many ebooks? Okay. I did some mental calculations. I think I have about 600 books on these shelves here. I think I have about 200 or 300 books in my office. And I'm not counting any of the books that are in my husband's office in the basement because there are a lot of those books are his books. And also we inherited some books from my mother-in-law, and I just, he probably has 500 books on shelves in his office. And as far as ebooks goes, I was an early adopter for Kindle. I got the first generation of a Kindle. So I have been acquiring ebooks for a long time now. And I probably have 900 ebooks, and I've probably read 50% of those. So there's a lot of books out there that are just waiting for me to pluck them out of obscurity and go ahead and read them. And I probably will. I don't know. 1001 books read. How many books have you read in your life? I don't know, but I did start keeping track of my books. I did start keeping track of what I read in 1998. That was when I was going to college, and I went to college late in my life, in my 20s and 30s. So 98, I was 32, and I started keeping track of all the books I read back then. So from that point to now, I've probably read about 900 books, give or take. I don't know how many books I read before that, but it was a lot. And was that it? Oh, so do you keep track? Yes, I do. I use Goodreads. It seems to work very well for me. I like the social aspect of it. I like seeing what everyone else is reading. I like seeing who read the books I'm reading or thinking of reading. And so I like that social interaction, even though I know Amazon owns it, it's not good, but it really works for me. I've been there since 2008. And so I've been there a very long time, and I just don't want to change. 1001 Arabian Nights. Have you read any stories from the Arabian Nights? Do you have a favorite? If you haven't read it, do you want to? I have not read 1001 Arabian Nights, and I don't think I probably ever will. I don't know why I'm saying that, but I'm not really into those kinds of stories. Fairy tales or fantasy stories, something that I may have enjoyed in the past, but just really don't call to me now. 1001 flavors. Do you have a favorite flavor or food? And I thought long and hard about this. I enjoy a lot of food, different kinds of foods and flavors, but I think fruit overall, the generic genre of fruit, is my favorite flavor. I love strawberries. I love strawberry jam. I like any food that has fruit in it, like peach ice cream or a smoothie or a fruit itself, if it's fresh and tastes delicious. Nothing better than a really juicy peach or an apricot in the summer. I love stone fruits and berries and apples, bananas. I love a good sweet orange. I don't like sour things, but I do like fruit. Okay, here I'm going to read this. 1,001 pages. Have you read a book that is over 1,001 pages? Is there one that you recommend and is worth the time? What is the longest book you have read? I think War and Peace is probably the longest book I've read, and I did think it was worth my time. I haven't read it since I was in my late 20s, so it's been a very long time. But I think that's the longest book I've read, and I would recommend it. And I know a lot of people are doing a read along together, so seek that out. I think Sandy is actually doing it, so I will put a link to her information about the War and Peace read along. I don't think I will join this time because I've just got too many other reading things going on at the time, but it is a book that I do want to revisit. 1,001 buckets. Do you have a non-bookish bucket list? What is one thing on that list? I don't really have a bucket list, but we would like to travel to Europe. We've never been to Europe, and that is something that if travel ever becomes something that's convenient or safe or reliable, then yes, we would eventually like to go to Europe. 1,001 numbers. Do you have a lucky number? Is there a story behind it? I guess, does everyone just pick the date of their birthday and make that their lucky number? So I like the number 20 because I was born on April 20th. I do have a funny story about that. When I was in college with a bunch of very much younger people than I was. It was my birthday, and so it was April 20th, and I didn't say anything about it. We were just in class, and the kids were joking about 420, and I had absolutely no idea what they were talking about. And I had to ask them, and then I looked like an idiot when they told me that it had to do with smoking pot. And it was like, of course, that would be related to my birthday. There's a lot of bad things related to my birthday in history that I don't want to get into here, but it's not the greatest day to be born, although that was the day I was born. And I guess everybody who has a birthday has some bad story that's connected with the date of their birth. 1,001 authors. Do you have a favorite author and or genre? My favorite genre is literary fiction. I love the classics. I love contemporary novels. So anything that has to do with fiction or classic fiction or literary fiction are my favorites. I have lots of authors that I love. I do love Charles Dickens novels, even though there are parts in every novel that are boring or over the top, but I just love the way he writes characters. I love seeing how the plots come together. I don't care if there are too many coincidences. I really enjoy that. I've really enjoyed reading Elizabeth Gaskell novels. Lately, I didn't know anything about her, but then in the last few years, I've read several of her novels and George Eliot novels, so I would put them way at the top. 1,001 activities. Do you have a favorite outdoor activity? I do like to go on walks. I do like to be outdoors. I like to go to the park. I do love to go to the Botanic Gardens. So that's the tag. I'm not going to tag anyone. I saw Sandy has a playlist on her channel, and over 70 people have done this tag. And so if you think this sounds fun, you should jump in and do it. And thank you, Sandy, for creating a really fun tag. The next thing I want to do is talk about a couple of novels for Black History Month that I really loved. And the first one I'm going to recommend is The Autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman by Ernest Gaines. This was written in the 70s. There was a mini-series that was made from it back then. And it is the story of she's 110 years old and recounting the story of her life from being a slave to the civil rights era. And Jane Pittman she chooses her own name. She had a different slave name, but Jane Pittman is the name she chooses once she's able to choose her own name. And it just follows her path. And she doesn't go very far. She doesn't ever end up leaving very far away from the plantation where she was born. But it follows it follows Reconstruction, it follows the Depression, it follows the Civil Rights era. And you get to see what happens to her and all of the friends she makes and the people that she helps. And so we get to hear a lot about the Black experience through her storytelling. I loved this book so much, and the audiobook is so good. The woman who reads it is Lynn Thigpen, and she has a beautiful voice. Unfortunately, she has passed away, but the way that she embodies and brings the character of Jane Pittman and this first person narrative to life is just delightful. So I highly recommend that. The next book I'd like to recommend is Silver Sparrow by Tyree Jones. She's a woman who writes about the Black experience also in novels. And this was written probably 15 years ago, and it's a family story. It's the story of a girl in her teens and her relationship to her father, and her finding out that he has another family and she has a half-sister that she didn't know about. And it's about all the emotions that you would find out if you were betrayed in that way, and how she related to him, and the friendship that she tries to form with her sister. And it was emotional, it was well written, and I thought it was a good story about coming of age as well as just a lived experience, not necessarily about any big civil rights issue or any kind of bigotry or racism. It's just a family story. And I think it's important to read stories that don't just pathologize what happens in the lives of people of color, but also just shows them in their flaws and in their relationships to one another. And a lot of people have read this already, but it's The Known World by Edward P. Jones. This is the novel that takes place in the South, where a Black slave is freed. His parents buy his freedom for him, and what he does with his freedom is to buy Black slaves. So it is a very complicated, complex story about all kinds of oppression, the stain of slavery, and what happens when Black people own other Black people and try to reconcile with all of that. And it's written in a very unique style. It covers a lot of different characters, a lot of different plot points, and perspectives, and it is just an amazing reading experience. And I really can't stress that you should read this book enough. I think everyone should read this. And, speaking of reading African American books, I guess go out and read them before they all get banned, because there are a lot of oppressive forces and weird things happening in states where they are trying to pull books out of schools and public libraries. And so if you have any opportunity at all to support your libraries and support your school system, I think we all need to find ways to support the people who are trying to keep the First Amendment alive and well and have access to any book that we want to read. I subscribe to a newsletter. It comes every single day to my inbox by a blogger named the Modern Mrs Darcy. You probably heard of her. Her name is Anne Bogle. She's written a lot of books about books and how books work in our lives. And she also curates this fantastic blog about books, and she has a podcast. I mean, she's really created quite a meaningful set of content for readers. And anyway, one of the things that she features in her newsletter every week is what's saving my life right now. And so I'm going to steal that and say, what's saving my life right now is some good television that we just recently finished. I just finished watching Station 11. It's an HBO Max show, and it's an adaptation of the Emily St. John Mandel novel. The plot is changed somewhat in the television adaptation, but I'm telling you, the acting is amazing. The set pieces they look so realistic, and it's about all these different characters before and after a flu pandemic. She wrote this a long time ago, in I think 2014. So she did a very good job of imagining what a pandemic would look like if 99% of the world died from the flu. Now, that doesn't sound possibly very appealing to you right now, but I just couldn't wait to watch all the episodes. There are 10 episodes. The whole story comes full circle. It's so well done. It's just very beautiful, and it's I think I'm so glad they didn't just try to make a movie out of it, and instead really took time to tell the stories and develop the plot lines and the timelines so that it was just very well done. So that's on HBO Max. The other thing we've started watching and haven't finished watching is a documentary. It's on Showtime by W. Kamau Bell. And he is a stand-up comedian, a podcaster, a musician. He's just a great man, great writer. And he is a documentarian now. And he has gathered a lot of people of color in the Hollywood stunt industry and in academia to talk about Bill Cosby, and it's called We Need to Talk About Cosby. It's 4 episodes. We've watched 2 of them, and it contextualizes the impact, the life, and the abuses of Bill Cosby on our society, and how deeply influential he was in popular culture and in education and in using his platform for good, and also using his platform for horrific abuses against women. And a lot of the women who were abused by him, raped by him, are in the documentary talking about their stories. And it's just a stunning look at America from the 60s to now and what happened. So highly recommend. It's very topical, and it's a good reckoning of what happens when great men do horrible things. So that's my Friday Reads today. I am reading a couple of books that I will talk about in my next Friday Reads, and I hope you're having a good reading week and have good plans for the weekend. And please tell me what's saving your life right now, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye.